we had the celebration out in Agiletos at their administration building, and there's a wooden bench that's been made for the awareness, and Councillor McClellan, you would like this. It was made by our friend in Beaton, and what a beautiful piece of work. So if you're ever out in Agiletos and you're in the walking track, there's a beautiful bench there to rest on, and it's solid wood, and he did a great job as usual. So thank you. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to identify any items to add or delete to the agenda. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Worship. There are 2 items to be considered by Council this evening to be added to the agenda. The first one is a deputation request from Matt Hamilton, re Tottenham Steam Debt. And the second is a verbal report from the town solicitor with regard to additional information pertaining to item CS1 on the Committee of the Whole closed report dated August 24th, 2020, re 5776 11th line, New Tecumseh, closed, related file number DEV 390. These items would require a unanimous vote by council in order to be added to the agenda. And if council should agree for the town solicitor to provide additional information, council will need to convene into closed session. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll deal with the first matter, Mr. Hamilton. Council would approve that we allow Mr. Hamilton to speak.
I'll move that.
Good, thank you. And then our solicitor, we allow her to speak. Has to be 100%. Carrie.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, both have been considered.
Thank you.
This time, council, any council has a conflict of interest or pecuniary interest, you can claim it this time or when the item comes up. Councillor Norcross, or sorry, Deputy Mayor Norcross.
No, that's okay, Your Worship. Thank you very much. Committee of the Whole, August 24th, in regards to the closed matter NTRC, please. And if it pleases the clerk, I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time, but we have a special council meeting, Committee of the Whole coming up. I'd like to declare on the closed meeting item CS1 too. I could also do it at a later date if that's preferred. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison McIntyre. I believe you have 2 conflicts.
Yep, CW52, the Community Improvement Plan, as this is an application for facade improvement that I submitted on behalf of my employer, and CW57, as this is a property per designation that my husband and I own.
Good, thank you. Look for a motion then. Be resolved at the minutes of a special council meeting dated August 24th, 2020 be adopted as circulated, and further that the minutes of the council meeting dated August 24th, 2020 be adopted as circulated, and further that the minutes of a special council meeting dated August 24th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Lacey. All in favor? Carried. Sam, I'm getting an echo. All right. I'll go to the clerk to identify items for separate discussion and the reasons thereof. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Worship. DS1, public hearing, tax write-off, section 357358 Municipal Act, as this is a statutory public meeting. D-1, as the deputation has been added for Matt Hamilton, re Tottenham Steam Debt. And CW52, Community Improvement Plan, Facade and Signage Improvement Grant, Building Permit Application Grant, and Upgrade to Building Code Grant Applications, 16 Victoria Street East, Alliston, Literacy Council of South Simcoe, care of Shira Harrison McIntyre, file number D18 CIP 0120, also bylaw 2020-094, as Councillor Harrison McIntyre has declared a pecuniary interest. CW57, designation under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act of Colgan House 2157 Adjula Tecumseh Town Line, as well as bylaw 2020-098, as Councillor Harrison McIntyre has declared a pecuniary interest. CS1 5776, 11th line, New Tecumseh closed, related file number DEV 390, as there is additional information from the town solicitor. Item CS4, verbal report of Councillor Noy, closed, unsolicited request to purchase portion of NTRC lands, as Deputy Mayor Norcross has declared a pecuniary interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll go to the council, identify items for separate discussion. Councillor McClellan.
CW14, please.
Councillor Noyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. The minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting, August 24th.
Do you have an item number, Wayne? Or sorry, Councillor Noyle.
Yes, it was item number, I believe, 5. Yes, item 5, Your Worship.
CW15.
Yes.
Thank you. And someone else, Councillor Beatty.
Thanks, Your Worship. I was trying to get your attention there earlier. Sorry about that. I need to declare on item CW15, please, as well as the Committee of the Whole meeting report of August 24th. Also CW15, because the motion as it's written includes lands to which my home abuts. So for those reasons, I won't take part in that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I'll go back to the clerk to summarize all items identified for separate discussion. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Worship. DS1, D-1, CW14, opening of schools and possible physical distancing challenges. CW15, request for a subcommittee of council and senior staff to explore opportunities for town-owned property at 25 Albert Street West and surrounding properties. CW52, CW57, CS1, and CS4. Thank you.
Mover and seconder.
Excuse me,
Sorry.
excuse me, Your Worship.
Councillor Noy?
It was item number 1, the Committee of the Whole minutes. It wasn't CW15.
Okay.
It was item number 1.
Because
If I could have that changed, please.
yeah, that's to deal with the Semitat Committee.
No, it's just a minute. There's a misprint in the minutes, and I'd like to bring them forward, if I could.
Okay, Madam Clerk. All right.
Thank you.
Mover and seconder be resolved that items of CW1 to CW5 on the Committee of the Whole meeting report dated August 24, 2020, with the exceptions of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendation therein be adopted. And further that items CS1 to CS4 on the Committee of the Whole closed meeting report dated August 24, 2020, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendation therein be adopted. And further that items PM1 on the Committee of the Whole Planning Public Meeting Report dated August 26, 2020, be approved and the recommendation therein be adopted. Moved by Councillor Jebb, second by Councillor Sainsbury. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. First, DS1. The purpose of this meeting is for the staff to advise council of the 2020 cancellations reductions and refunds of taxes under Section 357 and 358 of the Municipal Act, and to allow members of the public to provide input. Staff have advised council the report of FIN 2020-23 and have advised that the property owners of the information provided with the finance report in accordance with the notice provision in the Municipal Act. No property owners have registered with the clerk department to participate in this meeting. Look for a mover and seconder. Be resolved that a report of FIN 2020-23 be received, and further that the application for the write-offs included as attachment number 1, the report of FIN 2020-23 pursuant to Section 357 and 358 of the Municipal Act be approved. Moved by Councillor Noel and second by Councillor Foster. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. This time we'll go to the deputation. And is Mr. Hamilton on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, you have 7 minutes, Matt, for your talk, and then afterwards there can be questions. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey guys, hope all you guys are doing well, especially during these tough times. My name is Matt Hamilton. I'm the new owner of the newly branded Tottenham Thunder, formerly Tottenham Steam. And I'm here to talk about a previous debt from last season that was incurred in the months of January and February 2020, and ideas and propositions to clear this debt. What I came up with is perhaps, I know that the rink boards are vacant in Tottenham Arena, and I'm not sure if there's plans to cover those or anything like that. But I think that there's some agreements that we can come up to where I can bring in some advertising for the arena, and we can come up with ideas on how to profit off of that, not so much in the short term, but in the long term, more of a long-term play than anything. And I think it would be very beneficial to the community itself. The second option I had was maybe an extended payment plan, so we can move forward and get all of this behind us. And then my third idea was perhaps pay all of our ice in advance, and maybe also have an agreement instead of going 1 year at a time, perhaps having us go a 2 or 3 year agreement at the time, having ice paid up front, barring any, for example, shutdowns from COVID in the foreseeable future. And I would like to know any ideas or input on this, so it works for both parties as we can move forward and start getting the community back involved first and foremost, and having our team back the community as well.
Good, thank you. Is Director Burton, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor Lacey?
Thank you, Your Worship. Possibly would Matt or Director Burton be able to give us a little bit of a background as to how this debt came about?
Thank you. Matt, did you wish to start it off?
Yeah, I can take it. Basically what happened was the guy that owned the team last season, he decided to take off middle November, early November, draining the team finances and just kind of washing his hands with it. And what I did as the head coach for the past 4 years of this team is kind of step in and take all financial responsibilities as the head coach, to try to salvage what we had remaining, to keep the team in Tottenham and not have the league move it elsewhere, as I do believe that Tottenham is the spot for this team, as long as it is run correctly by the people that own it, which this coming season is myself. So at the end of the season, we had a tough time paying the bills in January and February, but we did what we could do to make it through, in hopes that the team had a future within the community.
Okay. Supplementary, Councillor Lacey?
I guess Director Burton, what what would we normally do in this kind of situation, or what would you suggest to help out with this?
Director Burton?
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Councillor Lacey. As it relates to a helping out, we don't really have a program or protocol in place to do such an idea of helping out for debt owing. The way we view it is the permit holder, who in this case was Matt Hamilton, has an outstanding balance of approximately $8,300, and we require that to be paid in full before any additional permits would be released to that permit requester.
Good, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Your Worship. Through you, please, to Director Burton. I believe, or you could clarify if I'm wrong, are we not already under contract with another company for the advertising on the boards in all of our arenas and community centers in New Tecumseh?
Director Burton?
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Deputy Mayor Norcross. Currently, the town has an agreement that has lapsed at the end of last season, which through COVID, we haven't been able to get to the market to reissue that advertising contract. But you are correct. We do put out a market to the public for all of our rink board advertising, including baseball diamonds and other such public facilities.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. If it's okay, it's supplementary. Matt, are you looking for forgiveness or are you looking for a payment plan? Just to clarify what your position is that you're coming to council for the ask.
I am looking to clear the debt. The team will have trouble clearing this debt, the new team, I should say, all up front. But I believe that there is ways to have this debt slowly paid off with ideas.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. That's the end of my questions. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Sainsbury, I believe you.
Yes, thank you, Worship. Through you to Mr. Burton. Have you met with anybody prior to this meeting, or is this the first approach related to this issue?
Director Burton?
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Councillor Sainsbury. Over the period of the last 8 to 9 months, since the debt began incurring, we were meeting with Matt Hamilton to try and come to agreements and arrangements on how we could get the amount owing paid. There was promises made to have some payments made on the account. It got to a point where those started to lapse come the end of January, beginning of February. And then we've had some discussions over the summer, and a most recent, Matt Hamilton had requested a meeting with the mayor and myself, of which we discussed approaching council in this manner through a deputation to discuss some alternatives that could be available to him through council's.
So supplementary, Your Worship?
Supplementary, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Hamilton mentioned $300. Is that what's owing, or is it way higher than that?
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Councillor Sainsbury, the account currently sits with a balance owing of $8,319.63.
So similar to taxes, when they're in arrears, could we start a payment plan? And if they stick to the payment plan over time, we would give them a sunset date that it could be repaid. I don't like to see us lose the team. I think they're important to our sports community.
Councillor Sainsbury, we're the only ones that can change the payments and that. Staff doesn't have that authority. It comes from us.
So I would move then that Mr. Hamilton meet with staff and that a payment plan be brought back to council at whatever time Mr. Burton feels is sufficient time for them to deal with the issue, and that we make a decision at that time that we'll accept the plan.
Okay, I'll get the clerk just, before we deal with your motion, Councillor Sainsbury, there were several other. Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Mayor Milne. Through you, to Director Burton. Can you either yourself or Mr. Hamilton give just a brief history of the history of the Tottenham Steam and the I guess once you cover off the history, basically what their financial history is? I mean, is this a new problem, or has this been a recurring problem over the years?
Director Burton.
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Councillor Foster, my understanding and having some conversations with staff who have been here for the history have indicated that this is a new problem, not a reoccurring problem. And again, through discussions with Matt Hamilton, it would appear as though the ownership structure that changed, as he indicated, within November of last year is what caused the balance of the issue for this year.
Okay. And I know there was somebody else had a question. Deputy Mayor, did you have a question? Sorry.
Thanks, Your Worship. I was just going to touch on saying maybe it'd be prudent for Mr. Hamilton and Mr. Burton to go away and come back with a payment plan that Matt thinks that he could honor and that the director feels is fair, and then present that to council for their consideration. Thank you.
Okay, same as Councillor St. Cyr. Councillor Noyle?
Thank you, Your Worship. You know, I sort of feel sorry for Mr. Hamilton. It's a very important issue to keep these hockey teams within our community. And I'd like to agree with Councillor Sainsbury and Deputy Mayor Norcross is set up a payment plan and see if we can help Mr. Hamilton out and keep the team in our area, and that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Councillor Lacey.
Yeah, so I guess if Councillor Sainsbury's put the motion, I'll second it.
Okay. Now, Council, we're the only ones that can change the program. If Council wishes to waiver the fees, we can do that, or if Council wishes to set up a payment plan of so much a month until it's paid off, or we have to give direction to staff. From what I understand from the motion, we're asking staff to come back with a draft. We have to give the direction here. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Understood what you said. So the motion I'd make is to give direction to Mr. Burton to sit down with Matt for him to present a payment plan that he thinks he can financially honor, and submit that for our next meeting in 2 weeks for council to give its blessing. Thank you.
Yeah, that was
Councillor Sainsbury?
that was my motion, yeah. So I'll second it instead of moving it.
Councillor Noyle, did you have anything more?
Thank you, Your Worship. But meanwhile, I believe maybe I can direct this towards Matt. Are you using the ice now, or will this delay the process?
Right now, the team is holding unofficial skates at Alliston Arena. As of 3 weeks ago, this coming Wednesday, we have another one this Wednesday, 4 p.m.
Okay. So this isn't holding you back from team practice or whatever, right?
As far as I know, it is not, but we are looking to move those skates to Tottenham Arena starting Monday, September 21st.
Okay, supplementary, please.
Supplementary, go ahead.
To Director Burton, so they will be allowed to skate in Tottenham until this agreement is reached.
Director Burton?
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Councillor Noy, no, that is not correct. The way the wording is written within our fees bylaw, provided there's an outstanding balance, they would not be allowed to practice under the team ownership and permit holder being Matt Hamilton. They have skating at the Alliston Arena under a different permit holder who has applied for the permit, not necessarily the Tottenham Thunder, under Matt Hamilton, which is how they have been able to practice thus far.
Okay. Councillor Lacey?
Could we amend the motion to allow them to initiate skating or practices down in Tottenham until this situation is resolved, until we either accept or deny the proposal?
I'm looking at the clerk.
I just don't want to stop. I think that's where Councillor Noy was going as well.
I believe I think that's where we all want to go, is
Yeah.
not to stop them, just to come up with And I'm just, the clerk's busy writing right now. In the meantime, I'll ask Councillor Foster his question.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. I agree conceptually with what Councillor Noy and Councillor Lacey are saying. The only caveat I would suggest is that we certainly go back to allow Mr. Hamilton for a couple of weeks in the interim while he presents, or Director Burton presents a financial plan. In the meantime, as long as we're not financing the ice time, if the ice time is paid in full, I think that's a fair deal for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Just holding it over until such time as we can come to an arrangement that council will accept.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Worship. Be it resolved that the deputation of Matt Hamilton be received, and further that staff be directed to meet with Mr. Hamilton to bring back a payment plan to address the outstanding debt associated with the Tottenham Steam for Council's consideration at the next Committee of the Whole meeting, and further that the Tottenham Thunder be allowed to continue with their normal activities within the town facilities, providing that the Tottenham Thunder time and activity is paid for.
Councillor Noyle, is that what you were looking for? And Councillor Lacey?
Yes, I second that motion or move the motion or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Thank you.
I'll go back to Councillor Sainsbury and Deputy Mayor. Do you wish to have your motion withdrawn?
I'm fine with that, Your Worship. I'm okay with that. I just want to ensure that, the concessions we're making will ensure that we have something come back in 2 weeks to be fair across the board and to all the other organizations. But I think the clerk captured that wording in the motion, so thank you.
Councillor Sainsbury?
No, I'm fine with that. I'd like to see us work something out.
Good. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor Millen. Thank you, everyone else.
Thank you, Director Burton, for all the help there. Our next one is CW14 and Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Worship. With the indulgence of the Deputy Mayor and the rest of Council, I wanted to add some specific language to that motion. I know I mentioned picnic tables being added to the parks because the kids are allowed to go to walk within 1 kilometer of their schools for some outdoor learning, which after the first few days of my children's school, they are definitely trying to take advantage of that. So if we could add into the motion distributing additional picnic tables to town parks within 1 kilometer of our schools, that would be a really great thing for the kids to have some outdoor learning in our parks.
I just have a question.
Okay. And a seconder? Councillor Sainsbury?
I'll second, but I just wanted to ask a question. So when do we normally bring the picnic tables out of the town parks? Like middle October, end October? Because it'll be too cold.
Director Burton?
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Councillor Sainsbury, we typically do this after Thanksgiving weekend.
Okay.
Okay. I know there was another question there. Okay, moved by Councillor McClellan, second by Councillor Sainsbury. Whereas the schools have not been open since March due to COVID-19, but will be opening in September as per the direction issued by the Minister of Education as part of the province reopening Ontario, a flexible response to COVID-19 Act 2020 and approved by the Office of the Chief Medical Officer of Health. And whereas the physical distance in the schools will need to be practiced in accordance with the provincial public health restrictions and instructions, which may be a challenge for the schools if there's a limited space available. Now therefore be resolved that the staff be directed to contact the school boards to see that they require additional space to meet the physical distance requirements. And if so, the staff will work with the school boards to determine if any or how the town may be able to assist with any space, challenges or requirements they may have due to the physical distance requirement. Madam Clerk, you want to finish it?
Thank you, Worship. And further, that additional picnic tables be distributed to town parks within 1 kilometer of the schools to assist the school boards with physical distancing.
Okay, any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. CW15 and Councillor, we have a conflict of interest. Who pulled that, Madam Clerk? CW15, and there's a conflict of interest by Councillor Beattie. Be resolved that the Mayor, Millen, Councillor Foster, and 2 members of the senior staff work to capture Councillor Foster's vision for opportunities for the town-owned property at 25 Albert Street West and surrounding properties, fronting on or abutting Tupper Street West and Kerr Boulevard. And further, that the subcommittee bring a report back to the Committee of the Whole no later than October 19, 2020, as part of Council's 2021 business planning for Council's deliberation. A mover and seconder. Councillor Foster, Councillor Deputy Mayor. Any questions? Councillor Noel?
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe we passed what I was talking about. It was item number 1 on the Committee of the Whole meeting, and it was on page 5 that Councillor Foster was doing his presentation. He stated the word vision, and vision's a very broad subject, so he agreed to change it to idea. And that's in the minutes. It was it's page 4, item number 5. And that's, so I spoke to Councillor Foster and he agreed to it at the end of our last meeting that he would change it to idea instead of vision. So that's what I wanted to bring forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The clerk's nodding her head up and down, so we're all right. Councillor Foster.
Do you need a second?
No, I was just going to comment that it was suggested at the last meeting by Councillor Sainsbury, and I believe my response was, I'm not stuck on the word, and she had proposed ideas, so I just don't think it was captured properly, and I think that amendment's fine.
Okay. So it's moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Sainsbury. All in favor? Oh, did you have a question, Councillor?
Yes, I was waiting for the amendment first, Your Worship. I just wondered if there's any costs involved, if that will also be part of the report for the 2021 budget.
I don't know. I'm a
If you
big
could
eater,
consider
so
that when you're meeting.
might have to pay for a big dinner for me. No, I believe there's no cost at all. All right, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Beattie, you're back in. CW52. Conflict of interest is called by Harrison McIntyre. And be resolved that a report of PD 2020-24 be received, and further that a bylaw be enacted to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a community improvement plan grant funding agreement with the property owners of Literacy Council of South Simcoe / Shira Harrison McIntyre, subject to the town solicitor's final clearance. And further that the following execution of the agreement, the amount of $30,025.75 be transferred into the community improvement plan reserve to be further transferred to the applicant as per the terms of the agreement. Councillor Jebb?
I'm moving it, Your Worship.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And Councillor Foster?
I'll second it. Oh, I'll second it.
Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. CW57.
I'll move CW57, Your Worship. I think it was just pulled because Councillor Harrison McIntyre's declaration.
Be resolved that a report of PR 2020-12 be received, and further that a bylaw be enacted and designating the front facade and the south exterior wall of 2157 Adjua Tecumseh Town Line, New Tecumseh under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, RSO 1990, and authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign any necessary documents. Moved by Councillor Sainsbury, second by Councillor Jebb. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next is CS1. Oh, okay. Mover and seconder that the council convenes into closed session at
7:42, your worship.
to discuss item CS1 5776, 11th line, New Tecumseh, related to file number development 390, litigation or potential litigation, include matters before administrative tribunal affecting the municipality or the local boards as authorized per the Municipal Act of Section 239(2)E. Mover and seconder was Councillor Jebb and Councillor Sainsbury. Any questions of going in camera? Closed session. All in favor? Carried. We'll take a few minutes for Pam to switch over.